What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an unsatisfied Sean Strickland, Joe Rogan apologizing, a new UFC signee, and much more. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. Now let's get into it. Sean Strickland says pressure got the better of him and he let his foot off the gas in Jack Hermansson fight. With UFC Fight Night 200 in the books, Sean Strickland is riding high, having beaten a tough top 10 contender in Jack Hermansson. The fight went the entire distance, and while Strickland clearly looked better in this fight, it was still a split decision victory. For his part, Strickland believes he should have done better and put away Hermansson with the chances that he did get. He has a reason for this, as a clearly unsatisfied Strickland said this during the post-fight press conference.
You know what it is, man? I let the pressure get the better of me. Like, I knew I was better than him. You guys knew I was better than him. Like, he was a guy that I should have maybe not finished, but he should have been more bloody and messed up after the fight, but he wasn't, and that's because I took my foot off the gas. I mean, I just coasted through that fight. I don't even think I was really trying that hard. Kind of sucked, but it is what it is. Yeah. That's what you get for being a push. No bonus for me.
Sean Strickland goes on to say that several high-level people from the UFC spoke to him prior to the fight, hinting that a title shot could be in his future if he wins decisively. This, coupled with the prospect of going in there with a dangerous fighter, made him get a bit too cozy and not go for the kill that he feels he could have. Throughout the fight, Strickland was able to land decisive power shots, although some might say he looked a bit tentative. Strickland dictated the pace of the main event and was able to walk away with his hand raised, setting up an even bigger fight for him in the future. What do you think of the UFC Fight Night 200 main event? And what are your thoughts about Strickland's words? Did you expect more from him? Let us know in the comments. Gilbert Burns responds to Khamzat Chimaev about potential April bout. As the days go by, it looks more and more likely that Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns will indeed meet in the octagon at UFC 273 on April 9. Heck, even Michael Bisping threw his weight behind this being one of the best possible welterweight matchups to make. Khamzat has commanded the attention of the combat sports world with his 4 wins in the UFC, all by finishes inside of 2 rounds, including 2 fights in 2 different weight classes just 10 days apart. The eyes of the MMA world are on Khamzat at the moment, and you can't wait to see who the undefeated fighter could challenge next. He's been calling out multiple fighters, especially Gilbert Burns. Durinho is a former welterweight title challenger and a perennial contender who is at the top of his game right now. Durinho has stated he'd love to fight in Brazil, which would put this bout for May, but with the news that the UFC has had to move fights out of Brazil, a date in April might actually be the way the promotion goes for this one. Recently, Khamzat tweeted out this April 9 date to Burns, giving us a hint of what's been going on behind the scenes as the UFC matchmakers set this up. Then, in a response, Gilbert Burns says, quote, "I'm ready. Make sure you get your visa ready. The hype will be over soon." Burns mentions the visa, which some fighters have had trouble obtaining in the past. It remains to be seen what happens here. But what do you think? Do you believe we'll see the 2 square off on April 9? An apology from Joe Rogan as he says sorry for past use of racial slur. Joe Rogan has been in the news quite a bit over the last few weeks, but this time it's much more serious, and his latest apology is certainly much more consequential in his tone. A video has been posted online that is a supercut of all the times Joe Rogan has said the N-word over a 12-year period throughout his podcast, obviously with no context. The video was posted at the same time that Rogan goes through his backlash over recent podcast episodes where he brings in doctors to talk about COVID-19, the vaccines, and all things pandemic, which was followed by Neil Young and Joni Mitchell pulling what little music they have control over away from Spotify to get the platform to change the way they deal with Rogan. Now, in the wake of this video compilation being posted, Rogan issued a lengthy apology, where he profusely apologized for all the times he said the racial slur, and then talks about some of the context in which he would say it, many times in reference to other comedians, most of them black, like Richard Pryor and Paul Mooney, and how they dealt with the word. At the end of the video, this is what Rogan said.
My sincere and humble apologies. I wish there was more that I could say, but all of this is just me talking from the bottom of my heart. It makes me sick watching that video, but hopefully at least some of you will accept this and understand where I'm coming from. My apologies and much love. My sincere, deepest apologies and much love.
What do you think about this whole situation? And what are your thoughts on Rogan's apology? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest fight news. A grisly arm injury ends Dennis Bondar's fight as Malcolm Gordon gets his second win in a row. The prelim cards for the UFC Fight Night 200 event on Saturday got off to an even more violent start than usual as an arm injury to Dennis Bondar in the first round ended the first bout of the night in quick fashion. The opening fight saw Malcolm Gordon and Bondar meet in the center of the cage for a flyweight fight, but it was waved off by referee Mark Smith at the 1 minute and 22-second mark of round 1, when the two got near the fence on the ground. Gordon was on top of Bondar when the Ukrainian's arm got all twisted up during a scramble. That was all she wrote, as viewers on TV could easily see there was a problem with Bondar's arm. The win earned Gordon his second straight UFC win after going 0-2 in his first UFC bouts. Meanwhile, this was a tough go for Bondar in his UFC debut, who was on a 10-fight win streak and was a highly touted prospect out of the Ukraine. In fact, fans had been waiting for his UFC debut for a while after 3 of his previous bouts all fell through, including a November matchup with Gordon himself that was pushed back until this past Saturday. What did you think about this gnarly arm injury? Let us know in the comments. Signed, Japanese flyweight standout Tatsuro Taira to bring his undefeated streak to the UFC. The UFC is signing a highly touted Japanese flyweight to join their roster, Tatsuro Taira. The 22-year-old standout is 10-0 in his MMA career, which includes an impressive 8 finishes, 5 submissions, and 3 TKO victories. He's only gone the distance twice in his career for 3 rounds, both of which were unanimous decision wins. Though many of his fights have taken place at bantamweight, he will be plying his trade for the organization in the 125-pound division, given that he was the Shudo flyweight champion. The news was announced by his management team in a congratulatory post that included a caption that read, "Please help us welcome undefeated Team Iridium stud Tatsuro Taira to the UFC, #The Dark Side." The signing of Taira raises the number of Japanese fighters in the UFC right now to 4, including the likes of welterweight Takashi Sato and female strawweights Mizuki Inoue and Kanako Murata. What do you think about the signing of Tatsuro Taira to the UFC? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel to see even more videos just like this. See you next time.